I started with some sketches, some like funny little moments in the studio between, say, two rock stars or whatever. And I'd have to play both characters, so I just filmed myself saying the dialogue. Have another sequence where I'm sort of responding to that, but I can't hear it. I just have to sort of remember what I said. Splice them together and hope to God that the timing was good, comedically. So I did a couple of them. The second one was of Freddie Mercury, and had a sort of a big wig, kind of false teeth. A bit insulting, really, to Freddie. And I thought, I'm moving into props and costumes here, try to make my little sketches sort of more interesting. And then I thought I was going to do one with like Robert Plant being obsessed with Tolkien in Lord of the Rings when they recorded Led Zeppelin's second album. And I thought I could sort of buy a wizard's hat or something. But then what if I just CGI'd a wizard hat onto my head and gave myself long hair like Robert Plant, And I realized, well, why can't I just CGI a Robert Plant? Is that possible? I used Copilot. Asked it, can you draw me like a Robert Plant cartoon character that looks a bit like that cartoon Archer on FX Network? And they said, I can't do Robert Plant because, I'm not allowed to do likenesses, but I can do something similar. So I'm like, we kind of hashed out this character look like Bob with long curly hair and kind of open shirt, kind of leonine type of chap. And I really liked the way it looked. I was like, oh, I think I could work with that somehow. So the next task was, how am I going to animate it? I remember I had a subscription on this platform called Kling AI. So I thought, I'm not using real imagery here. I'm using sort of cartoonish two-dimensional characters. It might be able to handle that better. So I wrote a script with Robert Plant and Jimmy Page were in a studio. Jimmy was trying to get Bob on track because Robert was obsessed with, druids and mysticism and Tolkien and Gollum and Sauron and all this. I just thought it was sort of funny, comedic territory. I recorded myself doing their dialogue. Tried to do Jimmy's voice. Jimmy Page is like, hello, Robert. It's got kind of a frail, kind of high, reedy sort of voice.
So, Robert, a little bird tells me you've got a new song.
So they're distinctly different. So I had what they call a bust, which is head and shoulders. I had the bust of Robert and the bust of Jimmy. And then I had the words recorded through GarageBand and a good microphone. I took that to Kling and I said, can you lip sync these guys to these words? And the results were so impressive. They exceeded my expectations. And I was like, with the way these characters look and the way they look when they talk, with my voice coming through them, I was happy with it. I was like, I could have a bloody cartoon series here. I could write within reason, in terms of like filmmaking. I could do like a simple Talking Heads show that's quick and funny and explore this classic rock realm. I thought if I could do a show that has some like real deep insider knowledge, it's going to be very rewarding for fans to see it. So I started to splice that together into, a back and forth exchange between two characters that I voiced. And then I'm like, I can't just have two faces talking. I needed some movement. So I started to experiment with like sort of dancing or gesturing, recording myself doing that, or just smiling at the camera. And then I would tell Kling, make these characters do these movements. And it was very good at, mapping your body and slapping it through the characters on the screen. I mean, you could sort of tell it was me if you knew me and the way I move. When you see these characters on screen, you can see that it's me. But I thought that's cool because that's part of putting me into the thing, So AI has been super impressive. People seem to think you can just type a prompt into AI and it will literally like spit out an entire movie or a cartoon. It doesn't. It only does little tiny few second stages of things at a time, and everything has to be creative. So it's just another artistic tool. If someone dismisses the cartoons as AI, it just means they don't understand what it's like to work with AI and how creative you have to be to get anything sort of interesting out of it. It can't do anything creative. it can just improve. It can just embellish what you're already bringing, really. So the first episode was a Led Zeppelin one. The second one was an Angus Young and Bon Scott from AC/DC number. And that one was cool because if you watch closely, the animation style and techniques are a little more sophisticated. I started using blur. There's something called box blur to differentiate something in the foreground, and it just made it visually more interesting and more true. And then the characters look a little better. Bond in particular, something magical about him whenever he comes on screen. I just sort of smile, and he was so fun to do. I didn't think I could do Australian accents, and I still don't, but I had to go. I wouldn't call myself a celebrity impersonator or an impressionist, but I have heard impressionists talk about the process of channeling voices, and they say when it's done well, it's done right. I'm talking about your Kevin Pollocks and your Jay Moores of the world. When they channel, say, Christopher Walken, they say that they think like Christopher Walken and say things that Christopher would say, weird phrases that they, as an individual, would never come up with. So that was a fun one, and invented a new character that didn't necessarily exist called Derek, and he was fun, and it was fun finding his voice. So the way the voice acting normally goes is I found a method where, say, there's a line in the second episode where Derek says, "I'm a big fan." He's from London, and I thought, he's only got one line. What I can do is just literally deliver that line through GarageBand, record myself doing it 10 different ways with a gap in between each delivery, and just seeing which one made me laugh the most.
I'm a big fan.
Yeah, so I enjoyed that episode. That was a fun one. And it had more views than the first one, which felt like progress. The next one was a story I heard Joe Barry from Aerosmith describe the situation where he had a new mansion, and he found it very overwhelming to be in it. He decided he was going to just rent a hotel down the road instead, sort of a block away from his mansion. So it sounded all very Spinal Tap, so I thought, can we get an episode out of that? Can I? And when I write these scripts, writers are going to hate me for this, but I literally write the first draft. It comes in one rush, with no editing. And I just think, that seems good. I'm happy with that, those drafts. You're supposed to go over and do multiple drafts of your screenplays. I get it. I know. Sorry, mate. But it was working for me, and I was more interested in getting on with the animation and editing part. So you take all the assets, you animate them as well as you can in Kling, and then you take them over to DaVinci with your backgrounds, and you start compositing them. And then you have to kind of zoom them or mold them or crop them into a scene and make it look like they belong there. So the fourth episode, which hasn't come out yet, isn't so much a fast, snappy dialogue with two characters chatting. It's a bit more ambitious. It's a short movie. It's going to be in widescreen format. It's not going to be released as a short on YouTube. It's going to be a long form. Well, I don't want to spoil it. And it feeds into sort of a London legend, and it's all very satisfying. But that's in the production process, and because it's so ambitious, because there is so much movement, it's not just two busts talking and then an occasional long shot of someone dancing. There's a lot going on. It's very challenging. I'm pushing the limits of what two-dimensional animation can do with these tools. So, well, I'll see what I can do. I relish the challenge.
See you in the lab. It makes no damn sense, so I run my experiments. It defies all logic. Stone cold hard.